know, I've been thinking about wishing I was more of a badass old woman. Definitely not a lady, but I am a woman and old. And I am a badass, but even the badassest of us have our moments. And I've been having some big moments the last little bit. But one thing that really gets me out of myself and my victimization mode is my watercolor painting. And I'm not particularly good at it. Never have been an art person in my life. So anyway, so I painted something yesterday that I didn't think turned out very well. It's hard to see maybe because of the way I have the light. Being not up to speed on how to do the videotaping, I'm not that good at it. So that's what it looked like, my painting looked like. And I hated it a lot when I finished it yesterday. I don't hate it as much today. Especially if you're a distance away from it, you get the vibe. And I'll show you the photograph that it came from, or that was the inspo, I should say. And what my painting was more or less loose watercolor. I'm not sure I totally understand that terminology. If you haven't heard me say it, I'll say it again. I need to learn by doing, and so I tend to push past the lessons, whether they're written or spoken to me, and just say I got to try it myself. And the other thing that I resist to some extent with the painting is I don't really care if I follow the rules, if I understand color theory and values and all that. I just want to paint something, and even if I don't feel that great about how it looks in the end, there's such a sense of accomplishment, and it helps me so much to deal with the anxiety I feel in general and the sadness I have been feeling, especially in the last couple of weeks. And it moves me a little bit out of that, or maybe it comes through on the paper. Maybe that painting I showed you a minute ago is furor and sadness in the dark foreground and the ominous clouds, who knows. Anyway, so I decided I would try to be more specific and more true to the cityscape by actually making the buildings stand up straight instead of crooked like they were in my painting, and being a little more realistic about the way the lights are on in the buildings and that sort of thing. So the first thing I'm doing here is I divided the page. Now in the picture, in the inspiration picture, the bottom half, the foreground, is the major piece, but I'm using a narrow piece of watercolor paper, so it's long and narrow, and I've made it more of a 50-50 split. So I'm gonna, and also all that darkness, well, there isn't so much darkness when you look at the photograph, actually, not as much darkness as I had. The real dark in the photograph is in the middle, and so I'll certainly keep that. And it's treetops, winter treetops. So I'm just going to work here on getting the buildings a little more straight, and also doing a little more of the skyline, a longer shot of it, like the photograph has, as opposed to what I ended up painting. And I was going to measure, hold the ruler to all of this, but now I don't feel so inclined to do that. So we'll see how this turns out. And some of these things, and this is the view from my apartment. So when you hear me say that I'm very fortunate, I really feel that I am in the place that I get to live for an incredibly reasonable price. And even if I want to run away back to New Mexico, I could never replace what I have here in New Mexico or anywhere else for the price. So, since I don't have to worry about being out driving in the snow and the frigidity and the horrible cold we have, I guess I'll stay put where I am and deal with the demons that I carry with me wherever I go, and get through them as I've always done. I guess what's going to come out of this picture, now that I'm sketching it out, is I won't have as much of the sky as is in the inspiration photo. And I proved to myself in yesterday's attempt at this, or 2 days ago attempt at this, I'm not even sure anymore. I guess it was 2 days ago. My inability to actually translate what I see onto paper. I was talking to a friend about that yesterday, and I can look at fences, and I was painting a curvy fence, so I was looking at the inspiration, the photo, and the fence is curved because they were on either side of a sort of a country road that was curving, and it is so hard for me to look at the picture, and I mean they're sort of tilted, and hands down the first thing I put on paper every time is just the opposite of what is in the photo of the real picture, of the real presentation. And I have to concentrate so hard to put what I'm seeing on the paper because it gets flipped in my brain. And I think that's just so fascinating. And I wonder if that happens to me, if I do that in terms of interactions with people too. I would imagine I do to some extent, because I'm seeing or feeling from them or believing them to be what is my creation of them as opposed to what is really who they are. And I guess we all do that to some extent, and it's human nature, and it keeps us going. But I don't think that always serves me very well. And whether it's painting or trying to get along with the people that live in my building or in the world. So, yeah, that's very interesting. I hadn't actually thought about that before. And what brought me to it is the buildings are straight, and now I'm at one it starts to curve, and I made it straight front on instead of the slanted as it really is in relation to the other buildings. So I'm trying really hard now to be true to that, and it's really hard. Really, really hard. Now there's that. Oh yeah, and that comes out here. And then there's this. Yeah, this is tough stuff. And, I think I do pick up better. I'm more able to assess people better than I am to assess non-living things. But I am open to the fact that I probably make mistakes with that too. Okay, we're almost getting to the end of the skyline, which is bringing me a great feeling of relief. Now I have the really tall building to draw in here. tallest building. And having been gone from Minnesota for many, many years, I don't necessarily, well, I don't know what any of these buildings are, to be quite honest with you. I've been back here for a while, and I've lived in this apartment for a while. That doesn't mean that I have been out much. Because first I was a caregiver with my husband, for my husband until he passed, and then I got busy with the grieving and building a new life, which I'm still working on. And I think a lot of the pain that I've been feeling of late is less about my current situation, although it certainly is partly about that, but it's also about just picking up where my grieving process was when I got sort of sidetracked by another relationship. And I think actually getting sidetracked was my way of putting off the really hard part of grieving the loss of my partner of 32 years. That's the part where you really have to face the fact that, oh my God, it's been a year and a half and I really am alone. And that's how I'm going to move through life, is alone. I think I wasn't quite ready for that. So I changed things. But now I'm back at that spot. Another 18 months gone by, and I'm back where I would have been. So it's tough. It's tough. That's all I can say. And it's tougher than drawing the skyline, but the skyline makes me happy, and so does talking about my grief. And I hope that those of you who have gone through things that we all have and are going through things, who are also on top of the grief, personal losses. We're dealing with the loss of some human decency in our country and all the bad things that are going on. It's a lot to carry. And I was just glad that I was able to make it till 1 o'clock today without crying. And, it's just the old adage, one day at a time. Looks like one of my pictures is crooked over there, but I don't see it in real life. Anyway, see, I don't know what's real anymore. So that's all for now. And thanks for those of you who watch this. It means a lot. I'm doing it really for myself, but if it helps somebody too, it's tough. It's really tough. But I get plenty of little pop-ups on Facebook reminding me to be thankful. And I am most fortunate to have this wonderful home that I have. And I have a couple of amazing women, friends, that are helping me work through my grief, as opposed to bottling it up, saying I'm fine when I'm really not. It's really good to have people like that who will stick by you when things are tough. So I'm thankful for that. Anyway, that's all. I'm going to end this. Bye.